Welcome back to season 3 of Another Man's Shoes, and Martin and I are delighted to have Tom Blakey, aka the Prepared Pathfinder, in the studio with us today. Tom, joining us on video, is going to take us on his journey from being a young member, joining the Parachute Regiment, through to becoming a Pathfinder, and all the experiences he's had in his 25 years serving in the British Army. He's an accomplished skydiver, businessman, and so much more. We're going to hear about his journey with us in the next hour. So, really looking forward to this episode. Hope you do too. Tom, welcome to the show.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, Tom.
So, we were just chatting
how's it going?
Before we started recording, and I'm hoping that we've got this right, that you can actually see both of us on screen when people watch us on YouTube, because at the moment you've got two talking arms and Winston the dog in the middle, also known as Martin's old RSM. So tonight we're going to talk for your journey, mate, and I'm really looking forward to it. But the first thing, you said we're on YouTube, we're live streaming, epic beard. All the blokes out there, especially the ones from Brighton that are watching this, they want to know what product you're using.
Cream, mate.
Absolutely. Oh, it's great. So take it away, Martin.
Hey, Tom. How you doing, mate? So normally how we do these things then is we like to, go right the way back to the start. So if you don't mind starting off and just telling us about little Tom.
All right. Okay. So I grew up in a little town called Wellingborough in Northamptonshire. My dad served in the army. He did his national service in the 50s, and then he ended up in Vietnam. Funny enough, he went to Australia, joined the Australian Army, served in Vietnam, come back to the UK, met my mum, settled down in a place called Wellingborough, and so that's where I was brought up. Fairly normal childhood, just running around, flipping, doing stupid stuff outdoors, climbing trees, playing army, and all that good shit. I wanted to join the army since I was very young, since I was 7 years old. I'm guessing part of that might have been because my dad had served, but he never encouraged me to join the army because he actually didn't enjoy his time in the army after being conscripted, to be honest. And I just wanted to be a paratrooper since I was a very young age, and I don't know really why. I didn't really have anyone that taught me into it. I didn't know anyone that served in a parachute regiment, but I just wanted to be in the army and I wanted to be the best. And I thought, well, parachute regiment's the way to go, especially after seeing what happened in the Falklands. It was either Marines or parachute regiment, and I wanted to jump out of planes and shoot guns, so that's why I wanted to do what I did.
Mate, that's epic. So you would have been, what, were you a child of the 80s?
Yeah, so I was born in 72. So yeah, by the time 1980 came around, I was eight years old. Yeah. So, you see stuff like the Iranian Embassy, 1980, and then the Falklands in 1982. And I'm guessing that had a bit of an influence on my sort of view on all things military and what I wanted to do. Basically, I wanted to go and do that stuff.
Yeah, that's true, because I think a lot of people you speak to, sort of our generation, they joined up because of things like 82 or because of the Iranian Embassy, or, more importantly, watching Commando with Schwarzenegger, because, I mean, that is exactly obviously what it was like watching Die Hard. I mean, because, all of those blokes, all those action heroes in the 80s, they were absolute legends, and you were just about thinking, oh, that's what I'm going to be. And then ITV brings out Soldier, and you're like, that is it. I am sold. I am so.
Yeah.
On it, Tucker.
No, mate, never watched Soldiers in my life.
Jen, mate, season 5, they all got airborne. So, it was all good.
I was serving. I was in the army by the time Soldier came out, and it was known as Screamer when I was in the army.
Oh, man. That is true, actually, isn't it? That was like the what was the SAS one that they brought out years later with the bloke off EastEnders? Oh, I can't remember what it was called. Ultimate Fast, wasn't it? I remember I'd be at Hereford watching that on camp, feeling like a real fraud. So, okay.
The funniest thing is when he went and did that program, though, wasn't it? Extras, and he took the piss out of himself for basically that program, Special Army Soldiers.
Did you ever bump into him through your career at all?
No, I didn't. Not Ross Kemp, but
yeah.
I remember I actually went to a charity night once, and I think it was for It was for British Legion or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's a comedian on stage, and he said to me, because I was in uniform, anyone serving had to be in uniform.
Yeah.
I'd literally just got back from my first tour of Afghanistan, and this guy on stage went, "Oh, and this bloke here, he thinks he's Ross Kemp." And I was like, "Does he fuck?" I goes, "He thinks he's me, not the other way around."
Yeah, it's funny. He did say that when I bumped into him. I met this bloke called Tom, epic beard. Fucking really fancied him. You know, if the rumours are to be believed. So let's just roll it back a little bit. So you obviously left school. You watched Commando. You did all the 82. You wanted to join the military. So take us through that journey back when was, of actually walking through that recruiting door and saying, "I want to be a paratrooper."
Yeah, so this was back in the days where it was all Army or Armed Forces Recruiting Office. It wasn't done online like it is a lot now, and that's what I did. I went in when I was 15. I think I was just turned 15. The earliest I possibly could to apply to join the Army, and I said that's what I want to do. I want to be a paratrooper. I don't want to be in anything else. I just want to be parachute regiment. And the guy that was in the recruiting office actually supported that really well, because I've heard lots of stories of other people that said the same thing, and they kind of got hoodwinked into joining support arms and stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. It's just, if you're determined on doing one thing, why not support that? And yeah, just went through my normal processes, all the tests and stuff, and Sutton Coldfield for the weekend, for the selection weekend, and I was successful in getting a place in Junior Parachute Company, which was quite sought after, because there's only two intakes, or there was only two intakes a year, of something in the region of 52, 54 people for the entire country. So those places were very well contested, And I was chuffed to bits to get a place at Junior Para.
And how old were you then?
16.
16.
Yeah, that's young, isn't it?
Yeah. Did you try that mine? Did you go straight Reg or?
So I did my I did my work experience at the parachute regiment in Aldershot when I was 15, and I had full intentions of doing that. But after that 2 weeks work experience with them, I changed my mind and ended up joining the artillery, and then obviously volunteering for the all arms parachute selection course. Which go on, you can say and take the piss if you like, but for me, I was I'm dead proud of it, and we all work together, don't we? Which we'll touch on later.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, that couple of weeks in the mortars block didn't do very well for you.
That's what it was,
mate.
The 81.
It's like that base plate story, isn't it, with the RAF regiment? They disappeared that up a little 15-year-old Martin.
Yeah. Mate, the RAF Reg, the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, mate. Oh, less about that. You're going to ruin the podcast. So, so take us through. So, like Depot Para, as a 16-year-old, how long is that? What's involved in it, all the way through? From skills through to P Company. Yeah.
So, I mean, I joined Junior Para, as I say, when I was 16. So that's separate from Depot Para. By the time I joined, it was actually in the Guards Depot at Purbright, but we had a separate company of juniors. And we just basically got thrashed for 6 months. We had 6 months there, getting beasted, and loads of weapon handling, loads of field craft, loads of tactics, and all that good stuff. So the difference between that and Depot Para is, in Depot Para, they're basically the first part of it. Really, the main bit of it is just getting you ready for P Company, and after that, we was doing a wings course and everything. Apart from advanced Wales and basic Wales, a lot of it was just getting beasted, really, and they didn't have a lot of time to teach you the skills that we did have in Junior Para, because we had 6 months worth of just basically training and fieldcraft and fitness. So by the time we got to Depot, we were all pretty damn fit. Just turned 17. Went on P Company. I think I was 17 and 2 months or something like that. I actually got injured on P Company. I didn't pass. I got an injury on a 17 miler, and then went straight on the next P Company and flew through it, no worries. Depot was very different back then, because you had there was no sort of visibility from outside, so they had their own train set and they did what the hell they wanted within that four walls. So it was quite rough, to be honest. Got through no problem after that first hiccup, apart from I then broke my leg on the parachute course as well. So on the seventh of 8 jumps, I actually broke my leg. got back squadded again, and then restarted the parachute course, and then passed out after that. But quite a tough. I mean, it ended up being a year and a half because 6-month juniors, 6-month depot, and then with the injury, I had to wait sort of 5 months, and then I got obviously the P company failure the first time as well. So it was about 18 months all up, quite a long time actually.
Yes, long, isn't it? So after you've passed out of junior depot, you then went straight onto your basic parachuting course, and then obviously you got that injury. So did that mean?
Well, no, after junior para, no, we didn't go straight onto the parachute course. We were straight into a recruit platoon, and then you're on P company after. But I think it was about 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And is P company as was? I mean, I went through in '99. Martin was
2006.
06.
Yeah, 2000.
But I think it changed quite a lot because I was at Catterick. I guess, were you at Aldershot then?
Yeah.
And did you do the Brecon phase
I did
in those
it in
days?
'89. So we used to do 2 days in Aldershot and 3 days in Brecon.
I mean, it was a different course back then, wasn't it?
A bit harder, I reckon.
What footwear did you have?
It was flipping tough, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I think because we were talking some about this the other day about P company now. I mean, it's 25, 30 odd years since we've all done it, but I think that the standards and the tests have remained exactly the same. But as I understand, it's the approach. You're not getting absolutely thrashed. There's more talk on stretching, on nutrition, and actually sort of getting the guys through the course rather than just trying to drag them to the start line, and you've got to try and get through it.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. The emphasis is now trying to get guys through the course and not trying to fail people. That first time I was on P company, there was 78 of us started and only 24 passed.
It's a big attrition rate, isn't it? But that also goes to show how hard it is.
It is.
Every person has earned that.
And the other thing is, that was there was a lot more people didn't even get to that stage in training. You probably could count another 30, maybe more, that didn't even get to that stage. So you're talking well over 100 people, and only 24 got past. So there was a massive attrition rate back in the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, but it's fantastic.
The all arms course, isn't it? On that course, the attrition rate isn't quite as high on that. So I don't know what the reason is behind that, but maybe it's all that infantry stuff and that you do, and all your beat up stuff that you do is in the infantry training stuff. Maybe that has an effect on your performance in that 3 weeks on P company.
Yeah, well, for us, it's only a week. It's only the 5 days. So all the beat up stuff is just within depot, just within the training.
Yeah,
you just get thrashed constantly, basically.
Yeah. Well, look, we covered that off. So anyone that's listening to this that wants to go and do P company, it's way easier now. So if you do pass me meet, we're just going to take the piss out of you and say, you're just basically a modern hat. Right. So moving away from that. So where did you get posted to then? So what were you, 1, 2, 3 para?
So I went to 1 para, which was literally across the road from Depot Para. So the brigade lines in Aldershot, Montgomery lines is now a housing estate. It's been knocked down. But yeah, we literally, I got posted directly across the road to 1 para. Had a year there, had a great first year, loved it. We went and did loads of exercises and bounced around all over the place. Went to America for a couple of weeks. I loved that. And then we was basically preparing to go to the Gulf. So we got stood to go to the first Gulf War at the start of, when was that?
91.
91. Yeah. So we were stood to, and we did all the training for it. We did loads of NBC training, as it used to be called back then, gas chamber runs, vehicle recognition for Soviet vehicles, stuff like that. We actually received a load of extra weapons as well. We got up armed within the battalion. So we had 2 GPMGs per section, and we had 2 M79 grenade launchers per section, and we did all the training on those too. And sadly, right at the end of that year, we reverted back to what was already planned in the first place, way before that, and went to Northern Ireland instead for 2.5 years.
Man,
2.5.
That's demoralising, isn't it? I guess on the flip side, the guys that did go out to the Gulf one, it was a bit of a crappy tour anyway. Didn't really get to see much action unless you were Bravo 20, whatever. But generally, I think it was quite a quiet tour compared to the proper Gulf.
Yeah, and I was absolutely gutted because there was me thinking, oh, this is the opportunity of a lifetime to go away on operations. It's a real war. It's not just walking around the streets of Belfast getting flipping blown up if you're unlucky. But you can't help the bigger picture. As a soldier, you just go where you're sent. But at least we were going on operations to Northern Ireland. Like nowadays, a lot of the guys are just all they're doing is going on exercises and stuff. So yeah, we headed over to Northern Ireland for the Royal Mud Tour for Belfast, Palace Barracks. 2.5 years out there. Took over from 3 Para in Palace.
What was that like in Northern Ireland?
To be honest, it wasn't what I joined the army for. I've got to say, I joined the army to jump out of planes and flipping go around the world and fight wars and stuff like that. And it's your job though as an infantry soldier, isn't it? I found it quite mundane and quite boring, mixed in with a lot of nasty shit, basically, getting abused by locals and, just feel when you were in those areas of certain areas of Northern Ireland that, the areas that they always put us in because it was the dangerous areas, West Belfast and places like that, it was just a hostile environment, and as a young kid, I literally just turned 19 when I went over there, straight into 2.5 years of hatred and hostility. It wasn't exactly a happy experience, I got to say. We was constantly deployed out on the streets in different areas, and every time you took a knee, you had to do your 5s and 20s because there could be a bomb next to the head you sat next to. And even not just that, like I say, the hostility of people, constantly abusing you and gobbing off and all the rest of it, and chucking shit at you, literally sometimes. So it wasn't particularly a nice time, and it wasn't really what I wanted to do with my life in the army. But you do as you're told, don't you? And you get deployed where you get.
Went out Northern Ireland. What happened for you next after that when you returned from 2.5 years on operations out there?
Well, actually, I had a little bit of a Gucci tour for 6 months. I went on the Parachute Regiment mobile display team, as it was called back then. It's like the recruiting team for 6 months. And just basically bounced around the UK, flipping, doing a Cape tour type stuff. And we used to put up this 60-foot scaffolding tower with the fan thing, the parachute simulator on the side and a death slide.
That's it, yeah.
Doing that at loads of shows and stuff, going on the piss, that was good crack. And then after that, I went back to 1 Para. So I went back to 1 Para, I think it was like September, October that year, 1993, and then back into an infantry, rifle company.
Those Cape tours were great, weren't they? I mean, they were like the glory tour. If someone said you want to go on, going on a 2-3 week Cape tour, what's it, keeping the army in the public eye? I mean, it was just a complete shagathon. Yeah. But you'd sort of like, the problem is, obviously, I was like SIGs to start with. So all we did was go around and show people a Klansman radio, and this is how you put an antenna up, which is, it's about as exciting as Coronation Street. Yeah, then you got the guy over the road that turns up with his like para rig. You think that's it, So all the essence birds are wandering over there. We end up with the fatties. Yeah, it was just shit. Which is about all I've ever been able to pull anyway. Doesn't happen anymore, obviously. You go back to that. So, at what point did you sort of decide you wanted to sort of turn up a gear and go Pathfinder?
So basically, at the end of that year, I went back to A Company 1 Para. I did a few months back there. Then I actually volunteered to go patrols, which is the recce platoon for the battalions. I went there because basically, I was always kind of striving to be better all the time. And I went to patrols platoon. We had a really hard cadre to join that platoon. We did a month in Brecon in January. Got thrashed. And then we actually did what's known as SEER now, combat survival back then. And we did all that training with the Pathfinders. So they were our DS for the cadre, for the patrols cadre, and then we did their actual SEER package as well. And at that time, I was like, yeah, these guys they were super professional, very, very impressive, really good soldiers, every one of them. I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. But we actually had another Northern Ireland tour coming up in 1 Para. So at the end of that year, which is 1994, we actually went back to Northern Ireland, back to Belfast, funny enough, did another 6 months. So I had to wait until after that tour before I could actually apply to join Pathfinders. So it was 95, October 95 that I went on Pathfinder selection.
And back then, was Pathfinder exclusively for Para-Reg?
No. So in 1985, it was all Para-Reg. but it was only, I don't think it was long. I think it's like a couple of years, if that, before they then started taking guys from other parts of the brigade, from 5 Airborne Brigade. So they had engineers and signals and people like that had the option to join the platoon for their specialities. It then got opened up to the rest of the army, and by the time I joined, there were guys from a few other different cap badges and stuff in there. Not that many, but there was probably about 70% parachute regiment, and then we had probably around about 30% or so from other cap badges, mainly from within 5 Airborne Brigade, but there were the occasional couple of guys that came in from externally as well.
Didn't know that. Oh, every day's school day. I don't know much about Pathfinders. I think, out of everything in the military that's elite, SF, whatever you want to sort of put it into whatever box, Pathfinder's probably the least known. I mean, everyone knows SAS, SBS, SFC is obviously legends, SRR, a bit of that's coming out now, more Marines, Paras. But when you say Pathfinder, it's like, what's that? So what is Pathfinders? What is the selection? What's involved in that whole sort of shooting match?
Right. So it's a 6-week Carter, and basically it's kind of similar to a compressed version of selection. So it's only 6 weeks, but when you say only 6 weeks, it's crammed in from day one all the way through to the end. I think on our course we got the first weekend off, Saturday, Sunday. We might have even been travelling to Brecon on the Sunday, I can't remember. But after that, we got 1 day off for the rest of the course. That was it. And the only reason we got that day off is because it was the day after endurance. So you start off with an aptitude phase where you literally just get thrashed for a week, doing 10 milers and 8 milers and various other stuff. And then you get all the other sort of tests, all your weapon handling tests and signals and first aid and stuff like that, just to get a bit of an assessment, a bit of a picture of what the soldiers like that have just turned up. Because like any selection course, you'll get dreamers, you get people that aren't really capable. So they kind of sort the wheat from the chaff on that first week. And then after that, they then pick up the tempo even more. And you do what they call a walkabout phase, same as selection, where you go out in groups, navigating over the hills, trying to keep to 4Ks an hour, being assessed by a DS. And then after that, you go into a test week. But the test weeks, it's only 4 days. I say it's only 4 days. It's a long 4 days. But it's all the same routes as SF selection, same weights, same, distances and all that. But in some ways, it's a little bit more challenging in some ways than SF because there's so few people on it. It's not like on selection where you've got a massive line of Bergens going up a hill with luminous panels on. Sometimes by the time you get to the hills phase on PF, there's only literally a handful of guys left. They've been thrashed into the ground so much that there's a lot of guys dropped out with injuries or whatever. I know one cadre that finished with 3 people left at the end of the course. Wow. So you do the hills phase, then you do a range phase where you're doing all your contact drills, section attacks, and all sorts of live firing stuff in Brecon. And on my cadre, we used to have to tab out to the ranges as well. They stopped that, which isn't a bad idea because your legs are completely shagged by the time you've done endurance and all that. But that was a very, very hard week as well because, like I say, your legs are completely knackered and your body's in bits. And so we were tabbing out to the ranges doing like an 8 miler or a 10 miler or something. And then that's just start of your day. Then you flip in, you change your socks, put some warm, well, not warm kit, but some dry clothing on and get on the ranges all day getting thrashed. So you do that, and then you do an SOP phase where you're learning all your small unit tactics, things like trolling, ambushes, and obstacle crossing, and OPs and all that stuff. You do a short exercise, an OP exercise. By this stage on the course, when I was on it, it was freaking freezing as well because it was November by this stage. And, you sat in an OP for a couple of days, I think 3 days or something, going through just the routine of setting up an OP and operating an OP and observing a target, carrying out CTRs and stuff like that. And it was freaking freezing, so cold, just sat there, just having to, it's a different kind of endurance putting up with that sort of thing. And then after that, you go into a final exercise where you're out for, I think it was like best part 2 weeks or something like that. Okay. You go through, again, a patrol task followed by a platoon task. So if there's enough of you on the course left, then the patrols come together, you go through a set of orders, and then you'll do a raid or an ambush or something similar. And then obviously at the end of it, they always bug you out and you go, into another tab right to the end of the course. So they thrash you for every kind of last second of the course, right up to the point where you finish.
Proper cheeky course then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I
Absolutely.
fancy. Have you ever tried it, Martin? Do you
No, not
tickle your fancy?
No. B company was my limit.
I remember, it's funny, but you said something just now which just reminded me, on my first hills course, I was on like day 3 on test week, and my nav was always pretty pony, to be honest, and I just relied on my fitness just to like run around, bounce around the hills. Anyway, I saw a Bergen tab in the distance, so I was just a follower, so I was like, I was just going to head in that general direction, so I just like went that way for like 2-3 hours, get to a checkpoint, you get out your map, the DS like at point, where you at, and you're like, I'm there, and they're like, what? No, mate, no, you're not. What you're on about? Refold the map, you're here. I'm like, oh fuck, because how did you end up here? I was like, well, I was following that guy. He's like, mate, they're PF selection, totally different course. Oh mate, I was hanging out after that. But anyway, so what did you get? So you passed PF. Did you get like did you get a sticker? Did you get a lollipop badge? What do they give you for like passing the course?
You get high five.
Hey, dude.
You just get a DZ flash. That's it. Yeah, you just get a DZ flash. Just the the unit flash, which is obviously the arrow. When I did it, it was 5 Airborne Brigade. So the DZ flash is based on the Brigade HQ flash, which back then was maroon and green with a horizontal line going through it, with a black arrow on top.
Yes.
Since they changed the 16th Air Assault Brigade, they're obviously using the 16th Air Assault Brigade HQ backing for the flash, which is maroon and blue vertically with the flash on the arrow on top.
Yeah. Did you get a pay rise? Like any more para pay or something?
So basically, when I went there, no, there was no change whatsoever to your pay. And that's a big difference between SF and Pathfinders is obviously when you go to SF, then you get your SF pay straight away, and it's quite a big pay difference, an increase. But with Pathfinders, no, there wasn't anything like that at all until April 97, when they established something called, I think it was called high altitude parachute pay. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically it was like double para pay. Yeah. That's the way they justified it. They said, well, these guys have done the free fall course, the Halo course and all that. And it's basically just double para pay. So it's not massive, but it's, it's a few extra quid. But obviously the guys you don't do it for the money. Anyway.
No, but I think it makes a difference at the end of the month, doesn't it? When you get that extra pocket money, especially being out on tour, when you come back, you've got loads there to spend on a brand new car that you can't afford. And then,
so
you talk about the high altitude, because obviously everyone's paratrained, you do your sort of basic parachute course, rounds, 1,000 feet, whatever it may be. But Pathfinder's a completely different method of insertion, right?
Yeah, so we went on the high altitude parachute course. It's not called a Halo course, it's called HAPC, high altitude parachute course. So you go out to California, I think it was like 4 weeks or something like that, 3 or 4 weeks. And you bang out in a region of, what was it, about 60 or 70 jumps? Something like that. 60 or 70 jumps, I can't remember now. You start off with the basics, so you get what they called AFF, accelerated free fall, where you learn how to skydive to start with. And then they ramp it up in increments. So you'll be jumping with a rucksack, then you'll be a big weighted, massive rucksack, 70 or 80 pound. And then you jump with a weapon as well, and then you'll be jumping with oxygen. And then they take you up to 18,000 feet. So that's classed as Halo when you go above 12,000 feet because you wear an oxygen. And then from there you go up to 25,000 feet, and then you jump at night with all those things as well. And then the sort of final thing is all that stuff at night, 25 grand. And they also put in a thing called a free fall, a free fall bundle. So basically it's like a big long tube. First person pushes it out. It's on a drogue parachute, and then you all pile out after that thing. I don't think that's in service anymore because that's been replaced with a military tandem. So, but that was cool because I was always a fast faller because I'm relatively chunky and small and short, so I fall really fast. Because I fall fast, they used to put me at the front of the stick, so I was always the one pushing this 6-foot tube out. So I'd literally hoik it off the tailgate of the aircraft, and then follow it out, just dive straight out after it. And used to try and chase it in free fall. It was amazing.
What, 25,000 feet? What's that give you free fall time?
So it depends on what height you deploy the parachute. So back when I did it, we were deploying sort of 3,000 to 3,500 feet. Nowadays, it's a little bit higher. Just depends on the parachute type. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about a minute and a half, something like that.
It's quite a proper journey. Many accidents?
Well, funny you should say. On my first free fall course, one of the RAF guys pulled in and died. Sadly, yeah.
That is
so there was a problem with the parachute system. Basically, we used to there's a handle. There's a handle there. You'd pull the main handle, deploy a drogue off your back that would pull the main parachute out. But what we used to find is the drogue wasn't catching the air properly. It wasn't a very strong. Basically, it's on a kicker spring, and as you're falling in free fall, above you there's a patch of what they call dead air. So it's like a vortex above you as you're falling. So this spring would come off your back and then just sit and wobble around in free fall. And what you'd have to do is basically take your elbows and literally smack the sides of the pack to try and dislodge the parachute to actually come out the back of the pack. And this poor guy basically, I'm not going to go into detail, but it didn't work, and he went all the way in at maximum velocity, terminal velocity.
Oh.
Poor bloke flipping died.
Was that fault known at the time?
Well, we knew that there was a problem with the deployment system, and that's why they actually brought in the drills of literally smacking the sides of the pack with your elbows, which is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
there were again, I won't go into too much detail, but there were a couple of devices that they, after I got more experience for skydiving, I found out that if they put at least one of these couple of devices in the parachute at the time, that guy would still be alive now. But the kit we were using was quite old technology. It was like 1970s, really, 1980s technology. This I was on that course in 1996, so it was pretty obsolete, to be honest. The kit we were using.
Yeah, but I mean,
we continued with the course as well. So they paused the course for a few days, about a week or something. I don't know, whilst they did a bit of an inquest and all that. But we actually continued with the course, which is, it's pretty scary. You're learning how to skydive, and then you're doing it with flipping kit, and you're doing it at night and all the rest of it. Someone dies, and then you're back on the pony doing it again. It's
crazy.
It doesn't fill you with confidence when you're using the same kit that guy died with.
But what choice is there? You can't just sack it and go home. We're training for war. You've got to get back on the horse.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to crack on. But it's not the nicest feeling thinking, shit, somebody died a couple of days ago using the same parachute I've got on my back now. But none of us actually qualified because we ran out of time because of the inquest and stuff. And then we had a few days bad weather. So none of us actually qualified on that course. The whole course basically had to come back and do it again at a later stage. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds awful going back to California for another month. Must have been really shit.
But the funny, the extra bonus we got is the RAF, just for us Pathfinders, said, right, you guys that were on that course, we're going to now put you on an intermediate thing to keep you jumping. Yeah. And we got sent out to Holland, and we went out with the Dutch commandos, which is their special forces, and went on their free fall course. And we went and did about 30 jumps out in Holland. Got the Dutch wings and all that, Dutch free fall wings, and that was that. We come back off that course and we got flipping slagging from the blokes because they're like, "Well, you're still not qualified. What the fuck are you up to?" Because the Dutch didn't have a high altitude capability, so they only went up to 12,000 feet, which meant we weren't fully qualified because we hadn't done everything with oxygen on and all that sort of stuff. So then we got a third course, so we went back up to California.
So go on then. How many jumps have you got, and what foreign wings have you got?
So I've got about 4,500 jumps all up. That's all the different types, tandem, civvy freefall, military, all the different types of military jumping. About 4,500. Foreign wings, I've got American, French, Dutch, German, Moroccan. What else? I think that's about it. I have done a couple of civvy courses with like companies and stuff. I wouldn't count those. I went out to Thailand and did some jumping out there. Not that kind of jumping. And and
Pulling
Czech Republic.
Johnsons, not ripcords.
Yeah, and Czech Republic as well. But I don't count those because they weren't with the military. That was just fun jumping with a company that was doing military jumps with military people, but it was in our own time sort of thing. Yeah, I think that's it. I might have, I don't know. I can't think of any other ones that I've got. But yeah, about half a dozen, something like that.
You, Mark, what's your best foreign jump?
Mine's got to be the German jump into the 65th anniversary of Arnhem with the Germans.
Yeah.
When that klaxon goes off and you haven't got a clue what's going on, it's like everyone just piles out the door. And
it's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, the ground training the night before, we rocked up late for it, and this German guy came out, spoke in German. No one had a clue what was going on, but luckily there was an American jump master there that had jumped with a chute before. He was like, "Guys, don't worry, we'll go through it before we load tomorrow." And he went around and, just got us all squared away and stuff. But I had no clue whatsoever about that klaxon. When it went off, I was like, what was that? And then everyone just piled out the door.
Yeah.
It's mental.
Yeah, the French do the same as well. We went to Corsica and jumped with the French Foreign Legion, and they stick that klaxon on. I think it's flipping crazy because if nothing else, it bloody panics people, doesn't it? You don't need that shit.
No.
Crazy.
So after you've been on all your fun jumping holidays, you it sounds like you joined the military. You've done a bit of time in Northern Ireland, then you've had loads of jollies, sort of jumping out of planes all over the world. Fantastic. But there must be a point where you thought, obviously you went Pathfinder, and then you went and did some more parachuting and more jollies, and then you probably must have sat and thought, I've not actually fired around you. I've not actually done the job. I want to go to war. I've missed the golf. Northern Ireland, obviously, hairy old place, but you're not getting rounds down every day necessarily. You want to go and get in it, you just want to get muddy. So it's what we talk about, 98 now, 99, Bosnia, Kosovo sort of time?
Yeah, so you're actually right there, because I wasn't the sort of person that wanted to join the army to get away from home or just to get a job. I actually did. I wanted to go to war. And when that first opportunity came up to go to the first Gulf War, I thought all my Christmases had come at once. And then I was gutted. I was gutted when it didn't when it didn't happen for us, But anyway, so went to the Pathfinders thinking, it was a fantastic unit, and I had a great time there. I was amongst people that were like me, very keen and, motivated, wanted to be there. But the only place we went to, my first tour of Pathfinders, because I was there 3 times, was Kosovo. So we went to Kosovo in 1999, and we was all chuffed. We're going away on operations, great. But it obviously it was a peacekeeping tour. It wasn't a warfighting operation. So we're information gathering, and it was interesting in some ways. We was gathering information about lots of different things, mass graves and stuff like that. What the population have been through, and information about what the Serbians have been up to. And we was monitoring roads, OPs and stuff like that. But it wasn't a warfighting operation by any means. And to be honest, I was a bit pissed off at the end of that tour, because I was thinking, all that selection, all that training, and we're basically just, peacekeeping it.
Yeah.
But it was stagging on. And we was actually used, funny you should say that, we was used to stag on Brigade HQ, Pathfinders.
Okay.
So, spare bods, just using them for what we can, I suppose.
Yeah.
I was stood next to a female RLC private on stag on the front gate of brigade lines in Kosovo, and her weapon wasn't even made ready. And
whereabouts was brigade headquarters?
I can't remember the name of the place. It was
it Pristina,
like an old schoolhouse.
Was it in
No,
Pristina?
this was before Pristina.
Yeah.
It was like an old schoolhouse in some town or village somewhere. And I'm just stood there thinking, am I the equivalent of the person stood next to me? And I blatantly wasn't. And it kind of pissed me off a little bit. Yeah. And as a result of that, and also I at the start of that year, so I went on SAS selection in January 99, and I came off with an injury. So I didn't pass that. And I was sitting in a bit of a, okay, what am I going to do next with my life? And I was at the stage where, funny you should say about skydiving, I was loving the jumping side in Pathfinders. I'd done 500 jumps in 4 years whilst in Pathfinders, and I was loving it, and I was getting more into the skydiving side. So I just went, sod it. Right, I'm going to the Red Devils. I jumped ship and went to Red Devils for a few years.
Red Devils. That's something that we don't normally hear about. Very similar to the Pathfinder stuff. Be really interesting if we can sort of dig into that. The Red Devils.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, a lot of people know who the Red Devils are. So it's actually now the British Army parachute display team.
Yeah.
When I joined, it was the parachute regiment freefall display team, but it was like the official army team. But now all the rest of the teams in the army have actually been shit canned. Just this year have been binned. So now it's just the Red Devils Army parachute display team. So it's gone from being a regimental team to being the only army team. But the job of the Red Devils is public relations, and again keeping the army in the public eye, that sort of thing, and representing the regiment, the army, the UK if you go overseas, by jumping into different events. Whether that's a town show, because we did lots of fairly low-key stuff like town shows, or big events like Brands Hatch or Silverstone, or air shows, things like that. We used to jump into air shows in the States a few times a year, and that was just an amazing job. So you're literally getting paid to do what your hobby is if you're into skydiving. And if you're a parachute regiment and you're into skydiving, there's kind of no better job, really. It was a fantastic 3 years, that.
So is it exclusive for the parachute regiment, or is it tri-service? Can anyone sort of go to have a look at joining the Red Threads?
No, so it's the parachute regiment team.
Yeah,
that's the name Red Devils was the nickname of the parachute regiment from World War II.
Okay,
so they're not called the Red Devils because we wear red jumpsuits. It's the other way around. We call the Red Devils, so that's why we wear red jumpsuits. And it is the parachute regiment team, but they do have guest jumpers in, not guest jumpers, they have guest members in.
Yeah.
I guess so basically you've got to have passed P company and got your parachute wings.
Yeah.
So you come from, say the signals, the engineers, whatever, medics. And they do have the occasional person in from outside the parachute regiment, but it doesn't happen very often.
No.
There's been a couple of female members, and they've been absolutely fantastic as well.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine, Jackie Smith, was the first ever Red Devil, and she's an absolute legend. She was the first woman to wear a maroon beret, and she was an absolute legend. She's a world record holder in various disciplines of skydiving. So, yeah, there's been some proper characters gone through the Red Devils and achieved some great stuff.
Yeah. Where were you guys based at that time?
So Netheravon.
Yeah.
Years and years ago, before I joined, they were based in Aldershot with a brigade.
Yeah.
Which didn't make an awful lot of sense because you're nowhere near a parachute centre. And then somebody somewhere made the correct decision to locate them at Netheravon, which is the Army Parachute Centre.
Yeah.
For skydiving. And
I did
they've been there ever since.
I did the static line course there. I think it was 2003, something like that. They've got a bar there, haven't they? So you go on the piss the night before, and you end up jumping with a banging headache.
Yeah. I used to instruct on some of those courses, actually, the static line courses. But that would have been just before you went there. So I was there from 2000 to January 2003.
Yeah.
I used to do tandems there and instruct on the courses and stuff. And I loved my time in the Red Devils. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
No, they are an impressive. I mean, I think when we were in Arnhem a few weeks ago, Red Devils jumped in there on a Saturday when we were up at Ginkle Heath. And I mean, it was pure blue skies, not a cloud out there. Obviously, like, we're all on it. But we looked up, the Red Threads have jumped out. And then, like, the guy's there with the Union flag sort of hanging off his foot, which, I mean, that flag is huge. It's like its own postcode. I mean, it was just, like, really mesmerising.
Did you see the second demo they did that day opposite the Hartenstein Hotel?
No, we didn't catch that.
No.
Right. So they jumped into the green opposite the Hartenstein Hotel, which is the one I've done that a few times when I was in the Threads as well.
Yeah.
And it's quite a small landing area. It's actually, it's very small. And you've got a big monument right in the centre of it, and you're right next to a busy road and all the rest of it. And they put in an amazing display onto that. I've got a YouTube channel, probably mention that in a bit, but I stuck a little compilation of that weekend on my YouTube channel, and I got some really good footage of the guys jumping in there, because literally there was landing 10 to 15 feet away from where I stood, because there wasn't that many people there. It wasn't that well advertised. So the great thing was you didn't have that enormous crowd that we had at Ginkle Heath, and you could see them right in front of you. It was amazing.
Fantastic. That's Prepared Pathfinder on YouTube.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so I've got a little YouTube channel there, yeah, and I put it on there just last week or something like that.
Got loads of subscribers. It looks very popular. So anyone who's listening to this, head on over. Prepared Pathfinder on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you got to plug everything you can in this life. No one else is doing it for you.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Yeah. That's one of those that YouTube thing was a bit of a lockdown project that grew arms and legs relatively
Everyone
quickly.
had a lockdown project, didn't they?
Yeah, coffee.
That was it.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't think it was going to go anywhere, but it gathered quite a bit of momentum fairly quickly. And even though it's just something I do once in a while when I get the opportunity, it's doing all right. So yeah,
Brilliant.
I've
Well
cracked
done.
on with it, kept it going.
So you gave SES selection a crack, 99, came off. How far did you get in before you got injured?
I basically just got on a test week. I was middle of test week and I come on. I had a bit of an injury before I started, to be fair. And if you've got something before you start, then you haven't got a lot of chance of completing it, have you?
No.
So I had a bit of Achilles tendon problem from PF selection because the amount of mileage you do on that, and come off that. And then, like I say, just decided to do something different after a bit of an assessment, after let down of Kosovo, went to the Red Devils. But the thing is, I wish I'd stayed where I was because less than 6 months after I went to the Red Devils, the Pathfinders then deployed to Sierra Leone, and I missed that. I was in the Red Devils, and I was absolutely gutted.
Yeah, I was on that
because they had a big dust up out there, and that was exactly what I joined the army for, was to go and do that sort of thing.
Yeah,
but hindsight's a great thing and all that. But I was enjoying myself jumping out of planes, so you can't really whinge too much.
No, One Power had a great dust up out there. That was in the August, wasn't it, of 2000? I was involved in something out there in June or whatever it was, just before that, the initial bit with the boys. And but the guys, I was working the ops room for when that all went in, and like just listening to the net and everything, mate, it was unbelievable. I mean, I was just like sitting there, like I wanted to crawl down into the net and just get out the other side and get some rounds down. It sounded epic.
Yeah, and that was my old company as well. That was A Company One Power. So again, when that happened, I was like, oh God, that's like a double whammy of bugger.
Yeah. However, so you didn't go back, you didn't give SAS another go, sort of left it there?
No, I did have it in the back of my mind to do it, but to be honest, I was all right doing your normal daily fitness and stuff, tabbing and running and that, but I'd never felt like I was really up to scratch for giving it that amount again, going through that amount that that you've got to do on the hills. I always wanted to, but it was like, nah, I've never really got rid of those little niggles that I had. There was a few sort of minor injuries that were kind of ongoing as a result of PF and all the rest of it, to be honest. So I never did, but I did go back to Pathfinders.
And then what? So you were One Power, then you would have gone to Gulf 2 or the Iraq War, Telic in 03?
Yeah, so when I was in the Red Devils, we knew Iraq was coming up around the corner. It was on the flipping news and all that. This is going to happen. So I literally went back to the Pathfinders because I knew there was stuff coming up. So I volunteered, and it's very rare you get people in the Red Devils want to go back to soldiering. But I did. I went back to Pathfinders, and I am just in time, a couple of months before Iraq kicked off in 2003. And chuffed to bits. Yeah, managed to actually go to a war at last. Hurrah!
Okay, that was the year you joined, wasn't it, Mark?
That was it. Yeah, I just joined that year.
And then,
such a crow.
Yeah, I'll catch up though. Don't worry.
Oh, that's it. What did you do? 6 months on Telic 1?
About 5, I think it was, something like that. Yeah.
Good contacts?
No, we didn't actually. So obviously, as job with Pathfinders, your job is reconnaissance. It's not your job isn't to go out and get involved in stuff. So we did my patrol. I mean, a lot of the other patrols did, but my patrol in particular didn't actually get involved in any contacts out there. But we were doing your classic long range reconnaissance role. Yeah, very classic sort of reconnaissance tasks out in small patrols in vehicles, a long way ahead of the flot and stuff. So it was good stuff. It was interesting.
You did your job proper then, because you didn't get into a contact. You were gathering all that intelligence and stuff.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And it was, there was a couple of times where we thought, that this could turn pear shaped, but we didn't actually get caught out or anything like that. So it was good. Yeah, it was an interesting few months.
Home for tea and medals, tea and biscuits and medals.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit too sensible to me. I mean, I always pictured like Pathfinder sitting there out on an op with like a Milan on your back, like taking out a dicker. You know, why use 5.56 when you got an anti-tank round? You know, imagine if someone did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll come back to that point in a bit when we talk about
exactly.
So you come back from there, then obviously, I mean, this is what 03, 04 now. Things are starting to heat up. You know, we've done the business out in Iraq. Afghans sort of starting to heat up. You know, we've been out there in 2001, wasn't it? Sort of initially doing the bits and bobs.
Yeah.
And then the regular army deployed 2004, 5. You know, what's his name? Dr. Hunt, or can't remember his name now, said that the old foreign secretary or something, that we're going to be out here, we're not going to fire a single round. You know, he was full of shit. And then obviously it goes loud, doesn't it, out there? And I'm taking it you were out on Herrick.
Yeah, so we was on that first one. It was 2006. We was on that first big kickoff tour. That was Herrick 4. The ones before it were basically the engineers and stuff building Camp Bastion. So Herrick 4 was the first big deployment into Helmand, where we went out on the ground, and that was 3 para battle group, and Pathfinders were part of that. So yeah, we had a very kinetic, as they like to say, very kinetic tour for that 6 months, wherever it was.
Yeah, I was out there with you guys. I was with 3 para patrols out on the mogs and stuff. So yeah, we were getting the artillery rounds down for you guys, which we'll get onto in a bit, I will imagine.
Yeah.
Your 06, obviously that was a hideous tour. A lot of friends, family, all of us. We obviously had the Nimrod accident, or an accident really. It was going to that another day. But Martin Compton, don't know if you know him, Household Cavalry, got severely burnt. Musakala. There's something niggling in the back of my mind.
Well, that was on the operation. I was going to say, that's what I was going to say a second ago. We was there for nearly 2 months, just under 2 months. And that was during that operation where it was a 3 para company, I think, plus HCR and support arms to extract us. And that, I think it whoever was planning it, it's difficult. I wasn't there to receive the information that the guys in charge had, but it seemed to me like they hadn't really taken the threat seriously enough, that we were under attack every day. And basically the Taliban had free reign of the town because we didn't have enough bodies to even patrol out. We went there with 21 guys, for the whole of Musakala. And when they said they were going to come in with bloody scimitars and, dismounted troops, I remember saying when we got the orders for it, I wouldn't want to be in one of them scimitars, because they've got to go through a built-up area and they're not going to have good visibility. They're just a sitting target. They're a bullet magnet, aren't they, for RPGs and stuff? And that poor bloke, and the other guys that got it, as a result of that.
Yeah, we were talking to Martin. He came on the podcast season 1. We've been mates with him for 10 years now. He doesn't talk about it much, for obvious reasons, and respect that. But he did open up. We've been out. We go skiing now. We go out in the piss together, and he talks to us quite a lot about it. And Christ, I mean, that was a hell of a firefight and everything. The guys getting in there, how they extracted, and not good. And we were in Arnhem on the 75th, and Martin knew Martin Compton, who got injured on the Muscala. And it was only at that point that they both connected and realised that actually when Martin Compton had been blown up, Martin here was like, hang on, we were on the gun line for throwing in.
We did the support plan for you guys to rip you out. And obviously his vehicle got hit.
Yeah.
And one of our bosses was in the vehicle. And I just assumed, that for the last sort of 15 years, I assumed that everybody in that vehicle, had perished. But turns out Martin hadn't. And it wasn't until, we were cycling along to Arnhem. And, I said to him, come on, mate, what's the dit sort of thing? And he did. He opened up and then started talking. And I was just like, it's putting the hairs on my neck up now, Tom. I nearly crashed the bike. I was like, blimey, I thought everybody in that vehicle. It was a bit of a shock, but I had a moment, and then sort of ever since then, mate, we've been, best buddies. It's
It's interesting, isn't it, having Tom on tonight, and you were there. They were there coming in to get you guys, Mike. It's such a small community, a brotherhood, really.
It is, mate. Yeah. When we did actually manage to get out of there, because that first operation didn't work.
That's right. Yeah,
they couldn't actually get to us. When we did, I think the not brigade, sorry, the battle group, when they put in a bigger operation to actually extract us that worked. I was actually a lead vehicle because we was in our Wimix, totally unarmored, and I don't know how many vehicles we had. I guess maybe about 10 or something. I don't know. But I was actually the lead vehicle coming out of Musicala, which is obviously the most freaking dangerous position you can be in, because they'd been sat there for 2 months worth of prepping IEDs, and whatever else they wanted to make. And I was 100% convinced I was going to die.
Yeah.
I thought, that's it. I was the lead vehicle, I was the commander of the lead vehicle. And obviously the lead vehicle is the one they're going to hit. They're going to hit the lead and the rear, and then everyone else in between if they get the chance. Yeah. But obviously you're going to drive over a device first.
Yeah.
And I thought, I ain't going to survive today. This is going to be it. But luckily for us, the operation that came in distracted them so much that we wasn't actually hit on the way out of that town. And for whatever reason, the route we took didn't have an IED on it, or at least it wasn't actually activated. Maybe it was a command detonated one. I don't know. But they definitely must have had IEDs out there. But yeah, we got out of it.
I remember it well.
At all.
Yeah. We fired an awful lot.
Sadly, there was a guy killed. There's a guy killed on the operation coming in, though. Cuts, I think his name was, an RLC guy that was manning I think he was on a Wimmick, manning a GPMG, and sadly he was killed on the operation as they were coming in to do the relief in place. So, rest in peace, that man.
Agreed.
But at this point, have you managed to get any rounds down yet? You've been in the army 15 years. It doesn't sound like you've done more than APWT. So...
Copious, mate. Copious amounts of rounds on various weapons. It was freaking... So Musicala was one of those places where it was like the worst thing and the best thing in your life, both mixed up into one big fucking party mix. Yeah, it was amazing.
Brilliant.
So GPMG, flipping UGL, flipping A2. What else did I get to shoot? 50 cal. Yeah. 50 cal sniper rifle. Minimi, LMG, everything, mate. Plus FAC in as well, because I was an FAC at this stage.
Excellent.
So we were bringing on aircraft on targets all around the place. It was A-10s flipping strafe in the joint, and Harriers coming in, B-1 dropping bombs. It was mega.
What's your biggest ordnance that you dropped as an FAC?
Oh, I don't remember.
No,
to be honest, I couldn't quote you anything, but
no.
I mean, there was various FACs, and they were all getting amongst it, dropping lots of bombs. But we nearly got taken out, funny enough, by the Americans. An American B-1 dropped, I think it was £1,000 bomb, and it went off. They reckon it was a problem with the weapon itself, and it landed just outside the compound, straight on top of a mosque, and completely demolished the mosque right in front of us. And it was a Danish FAC that was in charge of that mission. I bet that stirred up the hornet's nest, didn't it? I remember hearing the noise of the bomb getting louder and louder coming in towards us, because you get to recognise the sounds of the ordnance when it's coming in close and stuff. I remember hearing the sound of it, but it sounded wrong. It wasn't going overhead; it was coming towards us, and it landed probably 100 meters or so, 150 meters from where I stood. And the only reason why we all survived it is it was just the other side of a big wall, like a 10, 12-foot wall, and the blast went straight up.
Well,
did that stir up the hornet's nest, obviously, for you guys locally? Yeah, I bet it did.
Yeah, absolutely. We were fighting before that, but then it was just full on after that. It was non-stop, every day, twice a day sometimes, quite often actually. They obviously thought it was intentional. We was just destroying a mosque, and it wasn't that at all. Mm-hmm. That bomb was completely in the wrong place. And we were very lucky to see. If it landed just inside the wall, we would all been killed.
Yeah.
From where we were sat, it would have landed within 50
Don't
metres
bear
where we were
thinking
sat,
about, does it, mate?
and there was no cover. We were sat behind women.
Yeah, sure.
No, it would have taken out the whole of the PF in a one, basically.
What was your
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
weapon? Was it C8 or
Go on.
A2?
No, so 2006 we had A2s. It was just after that tour we got the C8s. So back in the mid 90s, we had the M16 A3s that were borrowed from Hereford. When they changed their weapon system to the C8, we had to basically revert back to the A2 because they didn't have any to loan us like they did with the M16s, and we didn't have any armour support either. So we had to revert back to A2s for that, and we had them for that tour, and then it was just after that we got the C8s.
And what's your personal preference between the two? Did you? It's a very big debate, isn't there? The old school always just talk about the SLR, that it was the best gun ever, but the A2 I've always thought was a pretty good weapon, but the C8 was head and shoulders. But I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, the C8's a far better weapon. Plus, it's more alley in it because not everyone's got it, so it's going to be more alley. But it was a better weapon for definite, and it is a better weapon. The A2 it was much better than the first version of the SA80, which I used as well. So the A2 was better, but it's never been it's never been perfect. It's always had its little glitches and stuff. I remember, for example, when we was in Musicala, the rubber on the butt of my SA80 just deteriorated and started falling off.
Yeah, it's the heat.
I literally had half a butt on my weapon for most of my time whilst I was in Musicala, which is, we didn't have an armourer there. We didn't have any logistics whatsoever. So I was fighting with my weapon that was, had half a butt on it. So that's not ideal.
It was shocking, wasn't it? The equipment issue, sort of in the early years, was just crap. I mean, you're going out with all sorts of rubbish.
Yeah. Well,
vehicles.
I remember on that tour specifically, I don't know if you guys remember this, if you were on this tour, the clothing was really bad as well. So it was the old the desert issue clothing back then.
Yeah.
We called it tea bag because you could pretty much see through the material. It was so thin. Yeah. And apparently the logic behind it is you only had it for a certain amount of time, then you got reissued a new set.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't really take into account that the guys were deployed in FOBs all around the flipping province, and there wasn't a single chance of being resupplied with virtually anything, really. I mean, we ran out of food when we was in Musicala. We was butchering goats.
That's it, yeah.
Let alone getting flipping spare clothing. There was guys I remember the boss, the OC, walking around with a crotch of his trousers that had all rotted and fell away. He's walking around with his flipping boxer shorts hanging out of his pants. And this is on operations, for 2 months.
Yeah. It's embarrassing.
Some of the kit you get issued is pretty bad, yeah.
And it wasn't enough either. Never enough, was it? 5 pairs of summer socks. You used one for your water bottle, didn't you, to cool your water bottle down on the wing mirror of your Jeep or whatever, your Wimic. Yeah. And then you were down to 4 pairs of socks.
Mate, I'm a little bit worried, actually. You just mentioned that you've been eating goats. But, like, the night before, the local blokes were having a bit more fun with that goat. So you might need to get yourself a little bit of a health check.
Bit of extra protein, mate.
Exactly.
But the thing is, it's funny you should say about that because, it's funny you should say about that because there was some dodgy stuff going on within the FOBs as well. And you all know what some of the locals are like over there. And the saying "Man Love Thursdays" come from that tour because that's what they
we were talking about this the other day, weren't we?
Genuine.
Yeah. Well, we'll fast forward a bit now because so how many years do you do in the military?
Did 25 all up. I did 3 tours of Pathfinders, 3 years in the Red Devils, 5 years in one para, and I was at Jate at Bryce Norton for 2.5 years doing the parachute trials as well.
So what did you leave as?
I was only a sergeant when I left. So basically, because I'd spent 19 years outside of a battalion, I'd kind of sacrificed any chance of rank and stuff like that, which I'm not bothered about, to be honest. I didn't join the army to try and get my WO2 or WO1 or anything like that. I joined the army because I wanted to go to war and flipping shoot guns and jump out of planes, and I did that to the max, to be honest.
Yeah, and it sounds like you had a great journey along that way. I mean, Martin got his way up to W to O2, and then he worked his way back down.
Good
Well,
effort.
he left
Snakes
as a
and
Lance
ladders.
Jack, I think, didn't he? But
Yeah.
he got the pension, as you say.
Yeah, I got the pension. That's the main thing.
So when you got out, what was the next? What was the next thing for you then? You sort of done your 25. You sort of get out. You're still young. You're like 40 years old. You know, 45. You got a whole life ahead of you.
So I was 42, I think, because I did 2 years extension Veng as well. And so basically I did a job with a company called Rescue Global for a couple of years, which was like overseas search and rescue type stuff. And I actually re-enlisted into 4-Power as well. So I went to 4-Power after about 6 months out. Did a few years there as well.
Whereabouts were you with 4-Power?
I was down at White City in London.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They got a few places, didn't they?
And as a result of being there, I actually got the opportunity to go back on the Red Devils. So as a full-time reservist, I actually went back on the Red Devils in 2017. And I was just like, oh, this is fucking amazing. I'm getting a second bite of the apple here. This is flipping amazing.
Yeah.
Bit wiser. You're a bit older. The things that you kind of missed, you wished you'd done, you've got that opportunity to go back and do it again.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, at the end of that year, I stoofed in quite badly parachuting. I was actually on holiday in Kenya skydiving, and I broke my femur into 3 pieces.
Christ.
I had quite a bad parachuting accident, and that was the end of my time in the Red Devils. But at least I had that year, and I had a great year that 2017.
Yeah.
What happened there then? Was it just like the air make the parachute fold, or was it just a freak accident?
No, mate. It was I did a bit of a low turn that was a result of a couple of other things going on.
Yeah.
And I was on a very, very high performance parachute, a very high performance fast canopy.
Yeah.
I hit the ground at a very high speed, and my second point of contact was my head. So it was feet, head, back. I'm lucky to be alive, to be honest.
Yeah.
Christ.
We were out there in 2016, and the brigade did a jump with the LLP. I think 11 guys got out of the Herc, and out of the 11, 9 of them were rushed to hospital with, back injuries, hip injuries, and it was to do with, the air out there it wasn't right for the parachute. So it was crazy. They had to put on a hook to then move the guys.
There, so you get a bit harder.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you for the medical care out there? Was it sort of first rate being military or?
No, because I was on holiday. So I had to go to a private hospital. Before that, though, I had no pain relief for an hour. So I was lying there with a shattered femur with no pain relief for an hour. That was great. I had to go to a private hospital. When I got there, I found out my medical insurance only paid £100 a day, and that was it. They didn't cover what your actual costs were. And my medical bill was, I think it's £10,500.
Wow.
For 11 days in hospital. So instead of it being £100 a day, it was nearly £1,000 a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I won't go too much into that. But that wasn't a particularly nice time, I've got to say. And I was on crutches for 2 years as a result of that injury.
Yeah, but you've obviously recovered because you're still jumping.
Yeah.
So you're not struggling with the leg.
Yeah, you say I've recovered. You say I've recovered, but I haven't. I'm not fully. I'm jumping, but I can't really run anymore. And I do get a bit of pain and stuff with it, but I've still got a rod going through my leg now. But
yeah,
I'm still jumping. Yeah, I'm still getting up the hills and doing stuff. So, as long as I can still keep doing stuff, then I'm happy.
Yeah. Has that rod got to stay in, has it, Tom, or are you having that out?
Well, I think the NHS, they just kind of fob you off. I think it's just a case of, unless you really whinge about it, and even if you did, you're going to get put on a flipping waiting list forever. But when I had my last appointment, I asked that, and he just said, no, there's no need to take it out.
Okay.
But I do know people that have had them taken out before. But again, you know what? It's the hassle of sat in a bloody waiting room in a flipping med centre and going to hospital for x-rays and all that crap.
And then going through rehabilitation again after.
A real drama.
Yeah.
Unless it becomes a real drama, I'll probably just leave it.
Yeah.
I mean, that jump we did into Carentan earlier this year, you weren't worried about rounds and getting injured then?
Yes, I was. That was the first jump that I've done since I bust my femur with a round canopy. And it was definitely a little bit of a let's see how this goes sort of thing. But because of the conditions on the day, and the DZ was just, it was, as you know, it was crops and stuff to land into and general winds. It was great. It was perfect. It was absolutely fine.
Yeah, it was a good jump. We were coming down, and I mean, what was the grass there? It was like 4 or 5 foot deep, wasn't it? So it was just like the best landing. There was a couple of guys that landed in the canal. think someone landed in the Mercedes sort of showroom or whatever, smashed on the cars. So then you landed, didn't you? You're dragging your parachute in, and the frogs are there, sort of asking for your passport. No, that was good.
I know, it's hilarious. Yeah, I've done a little video of that on my YouTube as well for anyone who wants to see it.
Oh, okay. We'll have a look. And what? So obviously you're talking about the hills. You've also got an events company, First In.
Yeah, so I've got a company called First In Events. The reason why it's called First In is that's the motto of the Pathfinders, First In. So I do it based on some of the, not all of them, but some of the military stuff that I did, activities and that from when I was in Pathfinders. So we do like tandem skydive days. We run a fan dance. We run a P Company event, which is actually next week.
Sounds awesome.
We run first aid courses, survival courses, bug out course. So lots of different stuff.
Yeah, there's some skills there. I think they're really important, aren't they, for people to come along. So it's practical first aid, I'm guessing, rather than some of the classroom stuff you might do at work or something on a course.
Yeah. So our first aid course is coming up first weekend of November, and it's learning practical skills. So it's not one of these companies where you get shouted at and you pretend you're in the SAS or you're on that daft program on the telly, Who Dares Wins and all that. It's not like that at all. We actually teach people practical skills. So we do navigation courses as well. So teach people how to navigate from the ground up, as in never seen a map before. Here's a map. This is what it's for. This is a compass. And the same with a med course. We do an outdoor first aid course where people are learning practical medical skills that can apply in real life. It's not just a tick boxing exercise. And the same with all the other stuff we do. Survival courses, it's not just a case of, we're doing this for a little bit of fun. It's actually learning genuine, real skills from people that are, well qualified and know what they're talking about.
Yeah. So if someone's listening to this now or watching it, on YouTube, where can they, what do they need to look for so they can get on one of these courses with you, Tom, and your guys?
Yeah, basically firstinevents.com. That's it, firstinevents.com. We've got the website. I'm on Instagram and also on Facebook as well. We've got pages on each of those. And I'll put updates on there of courses that are coming up, and I'll put all the pictures on from when we're running activities and stuff. So we get a whole mixture of people on it. It's not just for people that are ex-military or military fans. We've got all sorts of people that come on the course on different courses that we do. So it's a really good mixture of people and different skill levels and stuff as well.
Sounds good. Sounds fun.
That's fantastic. And when we get towards the end of the show, the first thing you say is you've been on a mega journey, mate. Fantastic. Really alley career. You've done you've had like the glory sort of career, really, haven't you? You've got to go to war, which, let's be honest, that's what we all joined up for. We want to get some rounds down and do some naughty stuff, bring some Gucci things home from Saddam's Palace or whatever. And then you've got to do in the Red Devils multiple times. Awesome. Pathfinders, got out, started your career. You've got the First In Events. That is a proper journey you've been on. Well done. But
I'm also still I'm still carrying out parachute displays as well. So I'm actually in a civvy parachute display team called Jump Dogs. My brother, who is ex-1 Power and Red Devils, he established that.
Yeah.
And most of the guys in the team are ex-parachute regiment, quite a few ex-Red Devils. And we actually jump into events all around the place as well. We just jumped into Arnhem the other weekend as well.
Did see that
into
out of a helicopter?
A private event. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes, that was me that had I jumped in with a parachute regiment flag on that.
Brilliant. And you managed to land without hurting yourself?
Yeah. I've practiced it a few times now.
No, I did see that. That was a really impressive photo. I forgot about that. Yeah, I think you put it on Instagram or Facebook or something. I saw that on there.
Yeah, but that's picking up quite a bit now as well, the parachuting side, because I've kept that going, because I didn't just do it because it was a job. I did it because I enjoyed it. And now that all the Army parachute display teams have been binned off, apart from the Red Devils, there's a big demand for parachute displays now from anyone that could provide it. So the team that I'm in, the Jump Dogs, we've actually picked up a lot of the displays that the Army was supposed to have done this year and next year.
Yeah.
And it's now my challenge is now trying to fit all these things in.
Hey, fit it in. You're a long time dead. Just enjoy it, smash it, and
absolutely
get through life. That's the way. If the missus moans, it's what it is. Take them with you.
Questions.
Yeah. So this is Martin's part of the show.
Yeah, so we normally finish the podcast with a couple of questions. So first one is grab bag. If you've got that grab bag, you got to pick it up and get out of there. What's the 3 items that you've got to have in that bag?
Just 3, yeah.
Yeah, just 3.
Okay, med kit for definite.
Okay.
I've got my grab bag sat right next to me right here now.
Okay.
So I have an EDC bag that I carry everywhere with me every day of the week.
Ali.
But the first thing I put in there is a med kit for sure. And I've got 2 med kits in my bag. I've got like a trauma kit.
Yep.
So, the trauma shears. I've got an Israeli bandage, Celox, and a tourniquet and a chest seal. So I've got that, and then I've got a normal med kit, that normal people carry, things like your plasters and bandages and stuff like that. So a med kit would be the first one. Second one would be a head torch.
Absolutely.
Because if you ever get caught out at night, you need to have light to be able to see what you're doing, whatever that might be. And if you've got a torch in your hand, then that hand's out of the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
So a head torch, stick it on your head, and you can see where you're going at any one time. The third one, and this might be a little bit of a cheat. I'll actually show you because I've got my bag set here, and this isn't a setup because I didn't know you was going to ask me this question.
You didn't know, yeah, exactly.
No, we never tell anyone.
So there's my med kit. That's just my normal med kit, as in not my trauma kit. I've got my head torch. Is there? Oh, that's not a pair of pants. That's a mask.
Looks like a thong.
It's a thong. It's okay. It is one pair.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Waters, mate. And then the last one, I'll take the patch off this because a rude patch on the front, is my EDC pouch. So that's a bit of a cheat, really, because it's like a bag of stuff. But within that, I've got all my bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I've got a whistle in there. I've got a tin opener. I've got a notebook and pen and pencil, cordage, Swiss Army knife, flipping multi-tool, lighter, blah, blah, blah. So all sorts of stuff. So it's a little bit of a cheat, really, but, EDC pouch.
It comes together, yeah, exactly.
There you go. And for anyone who's wondering, EDC, everyday carry?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then last question, we'll wrap it up, is so any service leavers out there, that are coming up to their sort of resettlement and stuff, what advice would you, pass over with your experience for them leaving the military or just, the forces?
That's an interesting question, that, because you've probably seen it, you guys have probably seen it yourself, especially people that have been in the army all their life. I mean, I was in the cadets when I was 13, then I joined the army when I was 16, and I left the army when I was 42. So I've been in it all my life.
Yeah.
I think the main thing is to be flexible, okay, is not be too, I know it's difficult to say because it depends on your personality, but I found I was always one to kind of be thinking about things in different ways and trying to be flexible. Because if you remain in that military mindset of being, institutionalized, then where's my next paycheck coming from? And I need to live in the block because I haven't known anything different. You need to think outside the box a little bit and just basically problem solve for yourself. Don't expect the world to owe you something because they don't give a damn about you. The same as the army doesn't give a damn about you once you leave. Don't think the world's going to owe you anything just because you're ex-army. Nobody cares. So basically be your own destiny, forge your own flipping way, and just say be flexible and just work out what's out there. And it's not hard. People will say to you, oh, it's really hard on the outside being, once you've been in the army. I didn't find it hard at all. Not at all. But I think that's down to mindset and being flexible and working out, just problem solving, just seeing what's out there, applying yourself to whatever you can. For example, busting my leg. I spent all my life jumping out planes and running, in the parachute regiment. And all of a sudden I can't do either of those things. So what did I do? I found out what I could do next and then applied myself to that and become successful at it. So, if you get a problem, just work your way around it or work your way through it.
Yeah.
And, just problem solve, just use your initiative.
Yeah. It's really good advice, Tom.
Yeah, it is. I think that's one of the big things, isn't it? Is use your initiative, work the problem when you get out. I think it is great. And just don't talk about, when I was in the army, this is how we did it. No one gives a monkeys what they want. But what military people have got is that initiative, that get up and go.
Cares.
And you will stand hands and above any civvy that you work with a lot of the time because, 5 o'clock they're knocking off. you're staying on to get the job done. People recognise that. You'll go up through the promotion ladder or what have you.
Yeah.
Well,
and I know people might be looking at me now going, oh, he's sat there with a flipping camouflage hat on his head and a picture of a gun on his chest, and he's talking about his life in the army. He doesn't know any different. But actually, I've applied myself in lots of different ways to lots of different things. I've got my own company now, and I'm still skydiving, having fun, and all the rest of it. YouTube channel, so old dog and new tricks. Just apply yourself.
Old dog.
Make the best of life.
Winston agrees, mate.
He's like,
Winston.
So I think that has been a cracking episode. It's a great one. Season 3. I mean, we're really smashing it out this season, and we got some great people on. And I think you are right up there. People are going to love this. We're going to get loads of feedback, I'm sure. Yeah. We're going to point them towards you when we do the write up. towards the first in, towards Prepare Pathfinder on YouTube, and we really want to say thanks for giving us the time today.
Cheers, mate. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's all right. Now, I'm going to do a little outro. I'm going to put a bit of music on, mate. You're just going to have to sit back there, stroke your beard for 30 seconds while I put this on and try and get it right. I usually cock this bit up. So here we go. Well, I really enjoyed recording that episode, and I hope you guys out there enjoy it as much as me when you listen back to it. Some inspirational stories from Tom there, and what he sort of told us about his journey from becoming a young paratrooper, 25 years in the military, Pathfinder, Red Devil display team, first in events. He has really been a busy guy, and he has had a alley career and top bloke. So what we'd say is Tom is on social media, so pop over to YouTube, Prepared Pathfinder. You'll find his page there. Subscribe to him, watch his videos. They are really interesting. Go on to Instagram, you can follow him there, you can connect with him, and if there's anything you want to ask him, feel free to reach out to us at the show as well. We'll happily ask those questions for you. And I think actually there's a lot of stuff we didn't get to cover in this episode, so we will probably try and get Tom back on in the near future. And if there's anything you want us to ask him in that episode, drop us a line. Moving forward, we've got some great new episodes coming up. We've got some really good guests joining us. What I would ask is, if you've enjoyed this show, feedback, positive, negative, please pop over to podcasts on the Apple app. Just click a star rating on there and leave a little 1-2 word review. It really helps bump us up scales. But for us, that's another episode completed, and we thank you for joining us.